Welcome back to Hey Eintracht Frankfurt, the Bundesliga podcast, covering everything there is to know in the English language about Eintracht Frankfurt. I am Chris here in Michigan, right in the middle. Actually, I'm all over the state. It's hard to figure out where I am on any given day. But we got a little bit of a different episode today. One of my favorite things to do is bring in new people, new topics, kind of bring a new flavor to the show. And that's what we're going to do today. He'll be new to you, but he's an old friend now with me. And once you have a beer together and watch Eintracht together, you're bonded for life. So before I get into that, ways you can get in touch with the show, of course, HEFpod.com. The Statistics Zone was pretty interesting doing my research for this episode. You can check that out, HEFpod.com. And on X, formerly Twitter, at HEFpod. And on Instagram at Hey Eintracht Frankfurt. Some new stuff coming out there this summer once Matt gets back in the swing. So, yeah, it's been a busy week. Lots going on in the Eintracht world. Lots going on in my yard. I'm in between jobs for a week, and I decided why not just tear half my damn yard up. So that's where we stand. But I dragged myself away from that for an hour to talk to one of my favorite Eintracht people, somebody who needs no introduction because if you follow the club on social media, you saw him this weekend, the founder of EFC Washington, D.C., bear hug extraordinaire from my experience. We'll get into that later. Matt in Washington, D.C., welcome to HEFpod. It's great to talk to you.
Good talking to you too, Chris. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely.
Sorry, I want to say thanks to Roman also for introducing me to this podcast. I was kind of late to the podcast game in general, not just this podcast, but all podcasts, but had the chance to meet him 2018 for the DFB Pokal Finale. I ended up being in San Francisco that weekend for my brother-in-law's graduation. And I met him out there, and that's where I learned about the podcast, and it's kind of been it since. So
Roman is one of the genuine people, really awesome guy. So for those that didn't see it, you got to go back to the social media page for the club this past weekend. They chatted with Matt. He was in Frankfurt, caught a couple matches there, and him and his son were on camera talking about their love of the club and just really, I mean, you and I have had this chat before, and I know they gave you a couple minutes there, but tell us in your words again, if you don't mind, how you came to be in DC, but also with the extension of your love for the club out in Frankfurt.
Well, grew up in DC, been in DC my whole life. My mother is from Wetzlar, which is about an hour north of Frankfurt. She came here in the 70s as an au pair, and she never went back. She still has her green card, and this is her home now. I still have family there. My aunt still lives there, and we went back for spring break to go visit her and to go catch some matches, and it's kind of a little birthday present for myself too. So
that's awesome. Was it your first time with your son going there?
No, we went a few years ago before COVID and caught a match, and then we had everything lined up to go to another match, and then COVID hit, and we had a flight there but no return flight, which I don't know, I kind of weighing my options. I don't know if I regret that or not now, but we decided to stay here, and then with everything unfolded, this was the first year we were really able to go back.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I'm going to be back this summer during the off season, not able to catch a match, but thinking about how long it's been 6 years for me now. And it feels in a way like I never left because I'm so connected to the people and the culture of the club through this show. And talking to, friends like you and followers of the show who are always going over there. It's like, yeah, I remember this. I remember the smells, the taste. I mean, literally the smells walking through the forest. But, it's one of those things where you just crave it. Once you're gone for a few years, you just cannot get enough. So you got to experience a couple matches there. Tell us about the two you saw.
So we went Friday night against FC Augsburg. When we first started planning out our trip, we got tickets to that match, bought airline tickets for the flight over there, got all that arranged. And, the match was still slated for Saturday at 3:30. And, FC Augsburg isn't really a sexy opponent, didn't really, wasn't really a whole lot. And funny enough, the last time we were there 5 years ago at the match, that's who we saw also. They lost 3-1 that game, and that was when they were hot in between all the EuroLeague matches. So, yeah, they lost that game 3-1, and that was sandwiched between the Benfica matches, if you remember those.
I do.
So, yeah. So we got the tickets and everything, and saw which matches we could go to, and that was the one. And it was like, well, better than nothing. And all of a sudden, Augsburg started climbing up the table behind us. Match got moved to Friday night. I'm like, okay, all right, well, this might be okay. And then our flight left out of DC late Monday night, and we had arrived Tuesday afternoon. And we landed Tuesday afternoon. I turned my phone back on, and I got nothing but news that Hudson had passed away overnight. And I was like, oh man, this match is gonna be something on Friday. You just knew it then, and it was awesome. It was an awesome night, awesome weekend, awesome trip. But yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned it was a match that on paper a couple months ago it didn't look like it was going to be much, and then as you said, Augsburg climbing the table, it turned out to have a good meaning to it by the time the match day came. How did the untimely passing, the emotion obviously one of sadness, but also I feel like these are the matches where the ultras and all of the supporters in the stadium kind of rally and say, to steal an American phrase, win one for the Kipper here. And that's kind of what came across on television. The moment of silence, it was literally silent on television, at least. And then the boys come out with emotion the way they did and take that victory, really set things straight at a difficult point in the season, don't you think?
Yeah, they really did. Luckily my son and I, we both packed our Balkenschals, the black and white striped ones, and they sent the fan club Verband sent out a memo, everyone bring one in. I was like, okay, they got something planned, and you could just feel it, just leading up to the match, social media, different WhatsApp group chats, going to the stadium, it's about an hour train ride from Wetzlar to Frankfurt. And, on the train there, you just feel something, and then even once we got to the main train station and hopped on the subway and just seeing all the fans and marching in, there's just something there. You knew it was going to be a special night. The moment of silence was really special. Shout out and respect to the Augsburg fans who were respectful during that time also. And looking back at, how much he meant to German soccer and Frankfurt soccer and for the club, he was a legend. He won a lot of trophies and he a lot to be thankful for, and he was really important to the club. You knew it was going to be awesome, and it ended up being awesome.
Yeah, obviously someone that predates my time with the club, going back to the early 90s. But when you think about those guys that laid the foundation and the winning, there's not a lot of people in this club that have won a lot of trophies. And I think that's why you and I as Americans sitting back here, this is, and I say it all the time, this is not a club that people choose.
Nope.
The club chooses you because you have a connection, whether it's through family or yourself or however it is that you came about Eintracht Frankfurt. It's not your usual, I saw them win the Champions League or, they had Ronaldo playing for them. That's not who we are. But the way that we remember the legends, because there are significantly fewer of them relative to our, trophy success. I really feel like that was a special moment, and it was fun to go back and listen to the stories about him and his impact on the club. So continuing the weekend, were you at the women's match that weekend too?
Yeah, we were at the women's match. The match being a Friday night match, got a hotel in Frankfurt and crashed there for the night. And then we had tickets to the women's match Saturday afternoon. So we walked around the city for a little bit, did a little sightseeing. And then we caught the train out to Brentanobat and saw the women's match Saturday afternoon, which was also quite the experience. It was not as intense, but it was still there's a lot on the line for that match as well.
Yeah.
The little more low key atmosphere, you know, a little more families and stuff like that. Great experience, you know, great, I wouldn't say seats, but great area to watch the match. You know, that one, standing there waiting for kickoff, you know, a light rain came in, and all of a sudden people started chit-chatting and picking up their phones, and that's when Essen beat Hoffenheim, and we said, oh boy, you know, we've got a chance to move up the table here, and we certainly did that day.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the Frauen a bit more later because there's 3 matches left and one that really is going to set the tone the rest of the way.
Oh, yeah.
It's been fun talking about your experience there. I'm very jealous of that Frauen experience. As you've heard me babble about, I'm a huge fan of the women's game. It, to me, is just as pure as can be, and it's the way it's supposed to be played, and the way this group plays it is exciting. I got to get there. It's killing me to crave as much as I do of that team and only be able to see 4 or 5 games a year because of the shit coverage here in the States. Just drives me wild. But yeah, thanks for sharing that experience. Let's get talking a little bit about the more recent on-track form here against Bayern Munich this past weekend, falling 2-1. I caught a little shit on Twitter because I made the mistake of saying that it was a good effort despite the 2-1 loss. And I got to clarify this right up front, Matt, because I don't believe any loss is a good loss. I don't like moral victories. You know, you understand it. You can't win and you can't lose and be happy about it because that's points lost. But I felt like we responded to a stupid early mistake pretty well. We came back, according to the analytics on our statistics zone, that middle 20 minutes of the match, we pretty much carried it. And it wasn't until that, you know, I think everyone wants to punch Thomas Muller in the face. It's just, he's got a really punchable face. And I think Robin Koch just kind of did the thing that all of us were thinking about doing. But I don't know. It wasn't necessarily a good loss, but I saw some things in there from Ekitike scoring in his 2nd game in a row. Kind of a classic goal scorer's goal where no one else sees it coming. But he's like, hey, this is my shot, and he picked his corner. And I thought there were some good things to build on there that we can move forward with. What was your take from the Bayern match?
Like you said, there's not ever a good loss. You kind of go into Bayern expecting to lose, but hope for a tie at best. I thought we gifted them 2 goals, easy goals. The first goal, bad pass by Pacho, and they took advantage of it and used their speed against us there. Second goal, I struggle with this one. You know, is it a foul? Yes. Is it a card? Yes. If that was a higher stakes match, would that still be a penalty? Let's say that was a final, would that be a penalty? Would you have that, call that as a foul in the deciding match? I struggle with that, and especially with several of the non-calls we've received throughout the season on some of the non-penalties we've received, you know, that you question the what is and what isn't a PK. But, you know, there are some good things to take away. You know, obviously, in the end, you kind of feel like you shoot yourselves in the foot on that one. You know, hopefully we can build off of it.
Regarding the card, I feel like, you mentioned, is that something you would call in the final? I'm not even going to the point of the final. I'll look within this match itself. The ball was not being played directly into him. It was away from the play a bit. It didn't impact a scoring opportunity. The contact to the head is something that's been a flashpoint in American sports recently. Across all sports here, it's getting called way too much. And I understand why you have to protect players' heads. I'm the biggest proponent of those rules, but within the context of the play, it didn't nullify any opportunity. And they were damn quick on that review to say, oh, yeah, we got to reverse that call, which, I mean, you can say what you want about Bayern and their, ability to get calls whenever they want, but that's kind of one of them. We at that point in the match, we were pretty well taking it to them. I mean, not, dominating by any means, but certainly in position to steal a point. And I'm with you. I question whether the decision was made. I'd like to have, I think MLS is the one now that's giving clarity on replays. I would have loved to hear that clarity on that one, why it was called the way it was and what impacted the reversal of that call. Not disputing it was a penalty, but certainly at that point in time, I think it could have gone a different route. But yeah, you said it before, the self-inflicted nature of our mistakes. That first play, the ball sitting there between three guys, a bad play by Pacho, and we got a 2-on-0. And as good as Kevin Trapp is, and for how many times he saved us, he's not going to stop Bayern on a 2-on-0 with Harry Kane open on the left side. It's too easy for them to finish. And the second one we talked about. Overall, though, I think there was stuff there to take, to build on, and go forward with. And certainly there's still a lot to play for. The last episode, we broke down the scenarios for European qualification. There's still a very, very outside chance at Champions League. But I'm not holding my breath on that, but there's still a lot to play for. There's still teams on our heels, so we need to do what we got to do to take care of business. We
did have chances to go ahead. We did have a couple breakaways. Knauf had that beautiful chance coming down the wing there where we could have easily gone ahead, and we didn't, and is what it is at this point, but
I just feel like we put our heads down after that goal and said, you know what, we were in it, but at this point, nothing's going to go our way. Because that just, to me, that was as deflating as it could get. There was still 20, 30 minutes left on the clock, but it seemed like the fight kind of came out of us. We got the ball into better places than we have in the past, but still that lack of finishing quality really likes to show itself.
Yeah, I thought we started off okay, went down, tied it up. It was maybe a little lucky, but I thought we had kind of played ourselves back in the game. And then I thought we carried the game, maybe not with possession, but we had better chances, I would say. And after the half, I had a pretty good feeling at the start of the second half. And I did feel that after that second goal went in, it kind of took the air out of us a little bit. Even though we did get the ball down deep, we weren't as threatening then. And, once we took Ekitike off and Dean off, it just seemed like Tutmiller just said, like, all right, well, this is it. We don't want to let it get any worse, and we'll give these other guys a chance to get some playing time after that.
Yeah, it was kind of interesting. Ekitike coming off in the 70th for Bohoya. I think Bohoya's got a future, but right now Ekitike, he's still struggling to go 90 minutes, which I don't know how he can be 21 years old and not run 90 minutes. I mean, I'm 39 and fat as hell, and I could run 90 minutes if you put me out there. But, taking off Buta, putting on Van de Beek, Larson for Gotha, that one made sense. But Shkiri for Chandler, another one that just kind of, I think at that point, you're right. It was just kind of, hey, get some guys in there, save our legs, save our fitness for next week. But and some of those had to do with cards too. Goetze was on a card, Skiri was on a card, so I get it. We kind of that served our medicine after a victory followed by a loss, and we'll move on to live another day. Around the Bundesliga was kind of interesting. Couple, as my computer likes to go out on me here. Interesting situation here. Freiburg and Augsburg both lost on the weekend, and that kind of gave us a nice little 5-point cushion here with 3 weeks left. Certainly not out of the woods. If anyone could find their way to trip and fall and get left behind, it would be us. But definitely a little bit of a cushion here. 5 matches with 3 weeks left. Should we be, starting to book our flights to Europe? Are we going to be in a European competition? How nervous should we be going forward? Because I'm gonna put it out there. We're going to talk about the Leverkusen match in a little bit, but after that, we've got road match at Gladbach, and then finishing up at home against Leipzig. So, not exactly an easy route to the finish line, but you think we can get enough points over Freiburg and Augsburg to say that we're safely in Europe at this point?
I do. I think we'll make Europe. As much as the Champions League sounds sexy for next season, I don't think we should go for that, or I don't think we've earned it, I should say. I think 6th place is achievable. I think between the goal differential between the opponents lower than us and the points that I think we can get from the last couple matches, I feel confident we can finish in 6th.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think we're there. We got to get to the finish line, obviously. But that winnable one at Gladbach is really where we need to take care of business. And then, of course, finishing up against Leipzig, that last match. They're hot right now. They've won 4 out of 5, last 4 in a row. And finishing up at home, that last match day of the year is kind of a fun one. A lot of weird things happen. A lot of lower teams catch big teams on that day. So there's an opportunity there to pick up even more points. But I'm with you. There's a mathematical chance of qualifying for Champions League, depending on what happens with Dortmund. The Bundesliga did pick up the 5th position for Champions League now. And there is a scenario in which we could qualify for Champions League at 6th. I don't know if I want that. I'm not ready to go there and get our asses handed to us, because I don't think we have the group of guys that we had the last time that we went there and escaped the group. We're going to get to that one a little bit. So, Matt, let's take a little break here. But before we do, I'm a beer guy. I know you're a beer guy.
Yep.
Have you had anything good recently that you want to brag about?
I pretty much survived on beer during my trip. I drank a lot of Licher Pils out of Lich, private brewery, a little bit closer to Gießen. Very easy and plentiful to find in Wetzlar. They taste delicious, whether room temperature or cold. Drank plenty of those, and I drank plenty of Binding also. Those are the 2 I was drinking during my trip. Took a little bit of a break when I got back, but I cracked open a seasonal favorite of my own right now for this interview, for this podcast. I went with a classic Busch Light collector's edition can with a catfish on it, and it just tastes good right now. It's just I'm usually not a light beer guy, but this one's got flavor, and it's hitting all notes.
The Busch Light was my go-to in college. That 30 pack for like $13 really hit the spot. But it's still one to this day. That's just a good on the boat or near the water kind of beer. That's a good one.
Yep.
Matt, you're a Caps fan, right?
I am.
You and I have some bad blood. I just kind of thought about that. We're gonna have to talk about that off air. Your team stole my playoff spot. I'm not going to forgive you for that one. But
a lot of people are upset about that.
Yeah, well, you guys didn't really show up in the playoffs either.
I know. You had your chance, though. You had your chance towards the end of the season.
We did. We can never trust Philly. That's something everyone can agree on.
Yeah.
So I am drinking from my neighborhood brewery here in Grand Ledge, Michigan. Actually, it's funny. They don't have pre-canned beer, but they'll can it on the spot for you. So we were there a couple days ago, and I was like, hey, I want some of that. And so the owner, he cans it up for me, and he hands it to me, but it doesn't have a label on it. So I'm going through the fridge today, like, what the hell did I get? And I was like, I don't know if I'm in the mood for what's in that can right now. But then I opened it up and found a nice, delicious, earthy porter from Brickhaven Brewery, which is outstanding. Really good beer, really good food too. So, yeah. So we're gonna take a break here. Segment 2 coming up on episode 312. Wherever you're listening, you choose to use. Welcome back to segment 2. Hey, Eintracht Frankfurt, episode 312. Chris in Michigan and Matt over in Washington, D.C. Matt, we talked about you. We talked about your fandom. Talk to us a little bit about EFC Washington, D.C.
So I started the fan club, unofficially in 2017. I started it kind of as an anti-other Bundesliga fan club. I didn't think there was any other Eintracht fans in the greater DC area, or I really had no idea how many there were in the U.S. at all. I was just, anywhere you went or any watch party or anything, it was always Bayern and Dortmund. I was kind of sick of that, so I started the club just kind of on a whim, as a joke, I guess you could say, just for me and my son. And when the Eintracht started doing the U.S. tours here in the U.S. In the summer, started meeting more fans and connected with more fans, and the puzzle pieces started falling together. 2017, we were in Columbus, and I thought I'd be the only Eintracht fan in the whole stadium, for a friendly match on a Tuesday evening. Drove to Columbus, brought my bike with me, figured I'd kill time and just bike around the city for the day and check out some stuff to do. Never been there before, and bike over the stadium before the match, and found a bar around the corner to go into, and met some fans, Ilona and her daughter Alicia, and Ernst, who was also visiting from Frankfurt. And that was the beginning. And then met more fans the next year, 2018 in Philadelphia. It's just a quick 2-hour drive from DC. I met a handful more there, and that's when it really took off.
I still, I've got one of the DC stickers on my laptop that I travel with, and people are like, awesome. Man, that's a cool logo. And I still got a couple in my bag. I don't give them out too much because it's a hot commodity. But you guys are doing good stuff there, and hopefully we get another watch party soon over in DC. Let's go back to the Bundesliga for a minute. We talked about the top of the table with Eintracht fighting in 6th. Really, the interesting stuff is at the bottom, because the top is mostly squared away. Stuttgart's qualified, Bayern's qualified, Leipzig's qualified. So really, the interesting stuff is at the bottom, where Bochum jumped up last weekend and caught Hoffenheim off guard, got themselves to a point of safety, while Mainz can't stop tripping over themselves. Cologne is, somehow not in last place after their horrific start, and Darmstadt is done. It's going to be an interesting battle. I know, if you're on this podcast and you're a Frankfurt fan, you hate everything Mainz. But they're kind of in a world of hurt right now. I would love to see them go down, but if they and Darmstadt go down, our local rivals are kind of falling by the wayside. you hate to see it, but you love to see it at the same time, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Darmstadt is secured. They're bye-bye. Köln, I don't see how they're going to survive. Even if somehow they don't get relegated, I mean, they're done. They can't spend any money. Mainz always finds a way, and they've been playing well. Even if somehow they end up in that playoff match, I don't see them going down. But I think Köln is definitely auf Wiedersehen, and that number 15 spot right there is, I guess, up for grabs. I kind of think Bochum might go down. Union's been kind of like a feel-good story. Mainz they're like a cockroach. Nothing kills them. So
it's almost like nobody wants to be safe. I mean, Union's got 2 draws in the last 5. Gladbach has 4 points over their last 5 matches. All these teams with the opportunity to climb safely out of that relegation playoff, nobody really wants to do it. And that's got to be a frustrating spot for them because the points are there. They've had a lot of matches recently against each other, but then they go out and lose the following one, or they end up with a draw in a position they should win. It's, I don't feel bad for them. Yeah, kind of dug the hole themselves. Certainly the fans I feel bad for in a couple of those situations. Union, though, I think they've done a hell of a job pulling something out of nothing, because the way that they started the season, it really looked like they were going to be that first qualifier for relegation. But they figured it out, after the first of the year, and then bringing on a new coach mid-season is a desperate attempt to work things out. It's been a difficult climb for them, but now they're kind of stalled out again. So I think it's a matter with 3 matches left. Who wants to win 2 of those? And if it comes down to that last match day and you're trying to hold on to that safe position at 15, good luck to you, because everyone else is trying to get there too.
Yeah.
So let's take a look ahead now. We did a lot of talking about the past. We're going to take a look ahead. And 2 matches coming up this weekend that we're going to look at, one for the men, one for the women. The first one on Saturday, May 4th, 8 a.m. in Washington, D.C. I'm highlighting this for everyone out there. This match is free to stream in the United States on Dazn, DAZN.com. Go there, register. It's free. Watch the match at 8 o'clock in the morning. Eat your pancakes, throw some whiskey in your coffee, and enjoy Eintracht Frankfurt Frauen against Hoffenheim, 8 o'clock in the morning on Saturday. Do I need to say it again? I'll send the link out on the socials. I know Matt's going to have it tuned in. My family is going to be in front of the TV because there's 3 matches left. The Frauen situation is very much on edge, just like the men. And this is the biggest match for them. So with 19 matches played and 3 left in the season, Eintracht Frankfurt sits in a European playoff qualifying position, just like they did this year, having to go through qualification round to get into the group stage. That's where the 3rd place would get them this year. And they're sitting on 35 points right now. Not where any of us wanted to be, but that's where they are. And they got Hoffenheim 1 point behind them on their heels. So this match is the most important match of the entire season for this group. Hoffenheim kind of been hanging around, didn't do a lot early, but they won 3 in a row recently and took points on 4 of the last 5. This is tough. I mean, the thing about it is, at this point in the year, you know who you are, but we kind of don't. And that's the issue with this group. I thought they looked really good. You saw it in person when they beat Nuremberg a couple weeks ago. But then to have a break, going into a break after a big victory like that, it kind of takes the momentum out. And I don't like that, especially when you put up 4 goals. That's when everyone's feeling good. Put me in, coach. I'm going to go score 1. And then it's like, hey, by the way, we're not playing a game for 2 weeks. Kind of takes all the energy out, right?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, Nuremberg really wasn't a tough opponent. That match was a little odd in person. rained lightly at kickoff. Even in warm-ups, you could see Nuremberg was practicing hitting the long ball. They hit a long ball in right off the kickoff, earned a corner, took the corner, and the ball somehow squeaked in. Wet pitch, deflection. I don't know. Everyone was just kind of stunned,
That was a
giving
weird
up a
one.
goal in the first minute. Yeah. But they settled it in. They played well. I will say that I was a little worried with Fragon being on the bench. I wasn't sure if she was hurt or they were just giving her a break or what. Wasn't really sure how that match was going to go up, but I'll say watching Nicole Aniomi in person was a delight. She was winning loose balls. She made it look easy out there in person. It was just a loose ball. She would pick it up, didn't work real hard, find an easy pass, get open, was getting shots, creating chances. She is the delight of a player to see in person. She's a heck of a baller. I would say she's going to be a difference maker in this match.
Yeah, and we're going to have to score goals. That good feeling, you said Nuremberg wasn't good. You're right. Through 19 matches, they have a minus 41 goal differential. They've only scored 14 goals over 19 matches. I mean, that's not good at any level. My under 9 daughters team, puts up better goals than that. But it's one of those situations where against Hoffenheim, it's the complete opposite. They've got 41 goals in 19 league matches. So we're going to see an entirely different opponent, and they got to be on their toes from the start because this idea of giving up early goals has been an issue lately. We got to get out in front of that. I think Fragang's still out. She had busted her arm before that last Nuremberg match, so I don't expect her back. But like you said, Aniomi, she does magic on the ball, off the ball. She's always in the right place. I like Frankfurt in this one by a score of 3-2. Matt, you got a prediction for me?
I'm going to go with the classic 2-1 for this match. 2-1 victory.
I'd take any victory. 2-1, 3-2, 7-1 would be lovely. Get it out of the way early. Yeah, these are hard ones to watch because if you stumble in this one, it's going to be tough down the stretch. And they got to take care of business because the last matches of the year after Hoffenheim are Freiburg and Cologne to finish it out. And I don't like our chances if we can't win that one. But again, that Saturday morning, that is on DAZN.com. We'll send that out through our links closer to match day. And then on the men's side, Sunday, May 5th, 11:30 a.m. Washington, D.C. time. We all know who we're playing. Leverkusen has won a remarkable 38 fixtures this year. They're unbeaten through 46. They were held to a goalless draw in match day 19 in the Bundesliga. That is the only match in all competitions where they did not score a goal this year. 8 draws, 38 victories, 0 losses. I don't know. I mean, what Xabi Alonso has done there is absolutely remarkable. I brag about it weekly. I picked them to win the league. I didn't pick them to win it like this. This is a whole different level of football that you usually don't see this because even the best teams have a bad day at least once throughout the year. We've made jokes about Leverkusen in the past. We call them Neverkusen or Leverlusen. But there's no jokes here. They're the real deal. The system is built well. They're balanced. Is there any hope for the Eagles?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I've got a feeling that they're going down this Sunday. All good things come to an end. They play Roma tomorrow. I could really care less about that match, whether they win or lose, or tie. I don't know. They've been so good for so long, and they play an awesome brand of football. Deservedly, they're the champions this year. Nothing against them, but they're not going to go the whole season undefeated. I just don't see that happening. And we always play terrible in Leverkusen, and we always play them well at home. It's been like that for several years now, several seasons, and I just got a feeling that they're going to go down, that there's, it's not going to be pretty. We're not going to dominate them, but we will beat them, and that it'll be tight towards the end. It'll be stressful. It'll be a typical Eintracht match where, the minutes will count like seconds, I guess, or it's just, or seconds will count like minutes, but it's going down. I don't know how.
I'm always of the opinion, if it's not going to be pretty, it's got to be gritty. And this will not be pretty because we don't have it in us to play at the level of system organization that they play with. And to beat them, you have to beat them at the style that they're playing. They're too organized to make the big mistakes for us to take advantage of over the period of 90 minutes. We're not going to get a 2, 3, 4 goal lead. You're right. It's going to go down to final minutes. If we get a lead, we're going to have to hold on for dear life. Maybe. I'm of the opinion if we do win, it's going to be based on a late goal where they're playing off one of those match days where they don't bring their best. But, that's kind of the thing. Their last 2 Bundesliga matches, they were deep into stoppage time before stealing draws from defeat. The 97th minute, 95th minute, they somehow find a way to get it done. If we're going to have a weekend like you think where we can jump up and bite them, it's going to be that same kind of way where we take advantage of an opportunity late off of one of their mistakes instead of the other way around. So I'm with you. I think it can happen. It's damn hard to be perfect. The Barcelona women did it a couple years ago, and same thing. They had an incredible run of last-minute opportunities that saved that perfection for them. You think Eintracht's going to pull this one out? Give me a score prediction. Gun to your head, what's the score going to be?
I'm going for the classic 2-1 again. Don't think it's going to be a late goal. I feel like we'll be up 2-1, and those last 20 to 30 minutes will be an endless barrage of shots and tackles and corner kicks and whatever else that goes on in that match. That'll be high stress Frankfurt type of match where we'll age a few years.
That's why we have Kevin Trapp in goal, right? That's the match where he makes the difference. It happens at least once a year where there's a match against a team that's far higher in the table, and he steals the match for us. I don't really think we've had that one this year, and this would be a hell of an opportunity to do it. I don't think I can be as positive as you. I don't think we're going to win, but I do think we can steal a point. And with where we are in the table right now, I think 1 point is just as important for our future as 3 points would be. I can't say we're going to win, but I will go with a 2-2 tie. I need to see our defense hold things together. Some of these mistakes they made recently, the 2 against Bayern, really cost us because I thought we had a chance in that one. We got to have guys like Tuta, who's one of our more experienced guys there now. He's got to be smart. Don't make stupid fouls. Don't get penalties called. Robin Koch is so organized in the middle. That mistake he made against Thomas Muller is not going to happen again. But we need him to step up in this one. If they do that, I think they can get a point. So I got 1-1. You got 2-1, Matt. We'll talk about this one next week and see which one of us comes out with a better prediction here. Matt, this was fun.
I feel like Koch is going to redeem himself in this one. Pacho, he's always so calm, cool, and collected, chewing gum on the back line there, or whatever he's chewing on.
Doesn't that bother you, though? Because it bothers me that Pacho always, he never looks flustered. There's points in the match where I'm yelling at the TV because everyone's so unorganized back there. he's calm and cool. I mean, that's what you have to be on that back line, I guess. But it's frustrating to watch just how he's very casual and collected in what he does. That's, I guess, the sign of a good defender too, I guess.
Yeah. He's fun to watch like that, though. So, I don't know. I think he'll redeem himself. I think Koch will redeem himself. Everyone seems to be pretty healthy. I mean, if you remember back when we first played them, we sat back and defended, and we didn't take too many chances. And Chaivi was our striker in that match. We didn't really play with a striker in that match. I think, Bahoya, he's got potential down the road. Ekatike, he also shows to have potential down the road. He's starting to bloom a little bit. Marmouche, hopefully he's playing, and he's got something to prove. I think, against Bayern, tough opponent on the road, we showed things against them. And even against Augsburg, at that match, we gifted them a goal, or didn't gift them a goal, but they really scored a goal out of nothing. And we went the halftime in that locker room down 1-0, and the team got booed, whistled, ausgepfiffen at halftime. And I'll hand it to Dino. I always talk to my son at halftime if we're winning or losing. Hey, what are we doing good? Who are we going to sub out? Who's got to go? Who's looking tired? And we thought, man, Dino looked terrible. He's got to come out. We got to bring someone else in. And we talked about maybe taking Guts out, or I can't remember who else, but we were like, oh man, these two got to go. And Dino brought up the same starting 11 at that for the second half, and they turned things around, and they carried that momentum against Bayern, and they seem to be playing well. And it seems this team seems to have a lot of carryover between matches. I'm hoping that Sunday there's not a whole lot of negative carryover from that bullshit penalty call from Koch, but
you're kind of the longer I listen to you talk, the more you make me want to change my prediction here. I don't know where I sit on Dino yet, because I still think he waits too deep into matches to make moves. And I think if he had made a move earlier against Bayern, there might be a chance that we could have pulled that one out. And it kind of sits poorly with me, this idea that a tactical move earlier in the second half, and maybe we have a lead before that penalty is given up and we can steal a point, or maybe it never happens at all. It's that butterfly effect. Or you never know how it would have changed anything, but I don't know. Where do you stand, as we got a couple extra minutes here to chat, where do you stand on the question of Dino? Has he done enough for you to say, he's safe for another year, or is there just too many question marks?
It's a tough question. I wouldn't say he's done enough to stay, but I also don't think he's done enough for us to get rid of him. He's done some good. He's done some bad. I do look at some of the injuries, some of the suspensions, and the overall squad we have. You love a guy like Asebe, you love a guy like Timmy Chandler, but realistically, we shouldn't have to rely on them, and even same thing with Holda. Holda's my favorite player on that team, and he has been for several years, but they're taking up roster space and financial space too. It's tough when a player goes down injured or sick or suspended, and you've seen in several matches where he has to shuffle the lineup around. Sometimes it seems like he's trying to spark something new and experiment, and other times you look at it and you're like, what the fuck is going on? Oh, this might be the best he has that he can put together. I think he has the capabilities of being a good coach. Obviously, we know some of the roster decisions right as the summer transfer window ended were tough on Marcus Klosche. Whether he played his cards right or wrong, we'll never know, but we got to deal with them. I think I see this team as a still a very young, inexperienced team, a team that hasn't fully gelled together, that they have potential. They have quality. And the question is, will they continue to develop as a team and individually, or will they not? And only time will tell for that. Individually, I think there's a lot of good players I'd love to see stick around, and some other ones that, if they go, it's nice having you. So,
one way he can save his job is pull out a victory this weekend.
Oh yeah.
You do that, and no one's going to run you out. I'm still kind of on the fence on that one. I'm not ready to commit either way till the end of the year, but a victory this weekend would sure go a long way.
Oh yeah. Matt, he's proven to tactically match up well sometimes and put up a good squad and come up with a good game plan. They're just not always executed well in the field. So I'm looking forward to this one on Sunday.
My last question for you. I always ask this to every guest we have, and it was on my list, and I forgot to get to it earlier. What's your favorite kit that this club has ever worn?
Oof. Ever, or in the last 10, 20 years? What are we talking here?
I mean, you tell me. If you got like a 1963 favorite, pull it out. I won't remember it, but which one is the iconic look or your favorite look?
You
can answer it either way.
I've started collecting jerseys, some older ones, and I typically buy the newer ones if I like the design. There's two that stand out of mind. One is from the late 80s, I think 87 or 88. It's the retro one, or the one that's design is based off this year's kit with the slanted black and red stripes.
Yeah.
I love that one. That's just a classic look right there. And then a not so popular one, I think, is from the 95 season, a Puma one. I've got a long sleeve variation of that. It's just screams 90s football jersey, just all over print, and it's loud and obnoxious, and I like that one. But there's some great ones, some forgettable ones, but I do like this year's kit a lot. The black and red slanted stripes, that's got a slick look to it.
Yeah, it grew on me. I mean, I bought the 125th because I like the black and gold. Last year, I loved the red one they wore. But it's funny. They put out a lot of good ones. And every year, I'm like, what's another $150? Why not? It get me every single year. Yeah, Matt, this has been a lot of fun. We'll do it again soon. Definitely. Where can we find you or EFC Washington, D.C.?
EFC Washington, D.C. on Facebook. Free for people to join and post and stuff like that. Always have stickers to send out, to trade out. Just hit me up, either on the page or personally. I'll find a way. We do have a WhatsApp group chat for the people more local, just to stay connected, not to put, general topics for meeting up for the worldwide web when it's, only so many people locally. But yeah, that's where we're at. I'm always happy to meet new people.
And next time you do that watch party, let us know. We'll make sure it gets out on our channels as well.
Yeah, unfortunately, Beer Garden House has closed since you were here last.
Oh, that's disappointing.
Yeah, just one of them things. So we're kind of in between where we are able to watch matches. It's 9:30 on Saturday.
New locations. Yeah.
Yeah. 9:30 Saturday morning is not always the easiest spot to find a bar that's open. So
it's kind of DC brunch hour. That's kind of a tough one to battle against.
Yeah. It's not always the easiest to find a place that'll open for you, or if they're open, put a match on. So
Yeah, exactly. I get it. And if you're looking for a place to watch a match, we've got a interactive map at HEFpod.com with a list of places that have been submitted by listeners and our hosts as well that we've verified are places that will show the match or show the Bundesliga or have Bundesliga-friendly watch parties for you. So you can check that at HEFpod.com. And, of course, links to all our socials are there as well. I thank Matt for being my guest today. I'm Chris here in Michigan. You can find me on all of the social media channels at Seeing the D313. We really appreciate you listening. The show is produced by Nathan Kwarta in St. Louis. HEFpod was created by Brian Sanders, of course, in Kansas City. He'll be back again this week. He just did a great episode. Look back one episode from this one. He did a fantastic a fantastic interview with Kartik Krishnaiyer. Really fantastic episode about all things in the soccer atmosphere. So check that one out. And until next time, this was episode 312. We will talk to you next week on episode 313, where I will be in 313. Cheers. Frankfurt, la 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 la. Hey, Eintracht Frankfurt, la 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 la.